What if one city, born from myth, could rise to rule the known world? Not just through conquest, but through roads, law, and language. What if its collapse was not a single event, but a slow, crumbling fall that changed the course of civilization? This is the story of the Roman Empire, how it rose, ruled, and fell over 1,000 years. Every great empire begins with a story. For Rome, it began with two brothers, Romulus and Remus, born to a Vestal virgin, sired by the god Mars, and abandoned on the banks of the Tiber. Raised by a she-wolf, they eventually quarreled over where to build a city. Romulus killed Remus, and founded Rome in 753 BC. While myth, this tale reflects Rome's self-image, violent, divine, and destined. Rome's earliest rulers were kings. The monarchy lasted from 753 to 509 BC. 7 kings in total, some legendary, others possibly real. These kings built temples, roads, and the first city walls. They laid the groundwork for Rome's unique blend of religion, politics, and civic duty. But the last king, Tarquin the Proud, ruled with tyranny. His son's assault on a noblewoman, Lucretia, led to an uprising that forever changed Rome. The Romans vowed, never again a king. In 509 BC, Rome became a republic, a state without monarchs where leaders were elected annually. In theory, this meant power belonged to the people. But the republic was far from equal. Patricians, Rome's elite, dominated the Senate. The plebeians or commoners had little voice. Over time, the plebeians fought for, and won, rights, the ability to elect tribunes, pass laws, and access public office. This internal struggle made Rome more adaptable and more resilient. By the 4th century BC, Rome had become a regional power. It defeated rival tribes like the Etruscans and Samnites. But Rome's true genius lay not just in battle, but in how it treated the conquered. Instead of enslaving everyone, Rome offered citizenship, sometimes partial, sometimes full, in exchange for loyalty and military service. This strategy turned former enemies into allies, and it created a growing pool of soldiers for Rome's future wars. Rome's greatest early challenge came from Carthage, a rich maritime empire in North Africa. The First Punic War, 264 to 241 BC, was fought over Sicily. Rome, inexperienced at sea, built an entire navy from scratch, and won. The Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BC, brought terror. The Carthaginian general Hannibal crossed the Alps with 30,000 men and dozens of war elephants. He crushed Roman armies at Trebia, Lake Trasimene, and Cannae, one of the worst defeats in Roman history. But Rome endured. Hannibal was eventually defeated at Zama. In the Third Punic War, Rome razed Carthage to the ground. Victory brought Rome control over Spain, North Africa, and dominance in the Mediterranean. The strength of Rome lay in its legions, disciplined, adaptable, and brutally effective. Each legion had around 5,000 men divided into cohorts and centuries. Soldiers trained relentlessly, carried their own gear, and built roads and forts wherever they marched. Their loyalty was not just to the state, but increasingly to their generals. This shift would one day help destroy the Republic. Conquest made Rome rich, but also unstable. Wealth flowed into the hands of a few elite families. Small farmers lost land to massive estates run by slaves. Rome's economy became dependent on enslaved labor. At its peak, nearly 1 in 3 people in Italy was a slave. Rebellions were inevitable. The most famous came from Spartacus, a gladiator who led a massive slave uprising from 73 to 71 BC. Though defeated, it exposed the deep cracks in Roman society. In the 2nd century BC, 2 brothers, Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus, tried to reform the Republic. They proposed redistributing land to the poor, limiting the power of the Senate, and providing grain to citizens. Both were murdered, victims of political violence. Their deaths marked a turning point. Reform in Rome would now come not from law, but from force. Out of the chaos rose Gaius Julius Caesar, brilliant general, master of propaganda, and champion of the people. After conquering Gaul, Caesar refused to disband his army. In 49 BC, he crossed the Rubicon, a line no general was allowed to cross, and marched on Rome. Civil war followed. Caesar emerged victorious and was named dictator for life, but his growing power alarmed the Senate. On the Ides of March 44 BC, he was assassinated by conspirators who hoped to save the Republic. Instead, they doomed it. Caesar's heir, Octavian, defeated his rivals, including Mark Antony and Cleopatra, at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC. In 27 BC, he was granted the title Augustus, the revered one. He claimed to restore the Republic but in reality became Rome's first emperor. Augustus ruled for 40 years, bringing peace, stability and reforms. He rebuilt the city, established a standing army and created a postal system. The empire was born, not with a fanfare but with a careful illusion. For the next 2 centuries, Rome experienced the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. Roads spanned 250,000 miles, cities flourished from Britain to Syria, trade connected spices from India, silk from China, and grain from Egypt. Emperors like Trajan expanded Rome to its greatest territorial extent. Hadrian built walls to protect it. This was the height of Roman civilization, efficient, elegant, and expansive. Life in Rome was complex. The wealthy lived in villas with running water, servants, and frescoes. The poor lived in crowded apartment blocks, insulae, often prone to fire and collapse. Gladiator games, chariot races, and public baths offered entertainment. Latin literature, architecture, and engineering flourished. Roman values prized honor, discipline, and gravitas, a kind of serious dignity. But beneath the surface, problems were growing. Not all emperors were noble. Caligula, for instance, declared himself a god. Nero went as far as to murder his own mother and was said to have fiddled while Rome burned. Yet even these unstable emperors built monumental structures. The Colosseum, aqueducts, harbors, all were symbols of power. You see, Roman architecture wasn't just functional, it was political. These concrete monuments were meant to last forever. In the 1st century AD, a new religion emerged, Christianity. Seen as subversive and dangerous, Christians faced persecution for refusing to worship the emperor. Yet the faith spread. First among slaves and the poor, then across all classes. In 313 AD, Constantine legalized Christianity with the Edict of Milan. By 380, it became the official religion of the empire, transforming Roman identity forever. By the 3rd century, Rome was in crisis. A rapid turnover of emperors, invasions, plagues, and inflation weakened the empire significantly. In 285 AD, Diocletian split Rome into eastern and western halves, an effort to stabilize governance. The east, with its capital at Constantinople, grew wealthier, while the west fell into decline. Germanic tribes, pressured by the Huns, began pushing into Roman lands. In 410 AD, the Visigoths, led by Alaric, sacked Rome. The first time in 800 years. The shock rippled through the ancient world. More invasions followed. Vandals, Ostrogoths, and finally the deposition of Romulus Augustulus in 476 AD, the last Western emperor. The Western Roman Empire, as it was known, was gone. But the story didn't end there. In the East, the Byzantine Empire thrived for another 1,000 years. Greek in language, Roman in law, and Christian in spirit. It preserved much of Rome's intellectual and legal legacy. Constantinople stood as the last great Roman city until it fell in 1453 to the Ottomans. Rome's legacy is everywhere. Its language shaped Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian. Its laws underpin modern legal systems. Its roads still form routes across Europe. Its architecture inspired everything from cathedrals to Capitol buildings. And its idea that power can come from the people still echoes in republics around the world. Rome rose through discipline and ambition. It ruled through innovation and brute force. And it fell not in a single day, but over centuries, from within and without. But perhaps Rome never truly fell. It became something else, and lives on. Not just in ruins, but in us. This is ChronoScope. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, like, and share for more journeys through time. History isn't past, it's prologue.